Hello, everyone. My name is Holly Howard, and I'm a fellow parent educator. I work with families who are struggling with behavioral issues with their children. I'm honored to be here today to get us started and to introduce Shira. So before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions as I go, please type them in the chat box. If you are not one of our techies, it may be best to close all windows except for Zoom and a browser window. We are placing a link to a worksheet that we'll be using today in the chat box. So I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with Zoom, but there's a chat box on the bottom, and in just a few minutes, that's going to go ahead and light up. There it is. So go ahead and click on the chat box, and you can open up the form from there. While you're doing that, I will let you know that you can switch quickly between the form and Zoom when Shira asks you to record Temperaments by using Alt-Tab on your PC or Command-Tab on your Mac. So again, kind of to go quickly between the two, the form and the Zoom, Alt-Tab on your PC or Command-Tab on your Mac. You can go ahead and test that now. If you're joining us by phone and you're not driving, go to the participants button, and there you will find the chat button, and you can open your form there. You should be able to flip back and forth between Zoom and the worksheet. All right, so once you do that, just go ahead and close the chat window and the participant window, and you can get back to class. The presentation portion will run about 60 minutes today, and this is a hands-on webinar. So be ready to think about yourself and your child and any other co-parents or caregivers that you would like to understand better. There will be a Q&A at the end, and Shira will answer as many questions as possible. There is a raise hand feature under the participants tab. Go ahead and open that now to see where it is. During the Q&A session, we will be using this feature. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can enter questions or comments into the chat window, and I will do my best to monitor those. If you are currently seeing more than just myself on the presentation, you can minimize just the speaker view by clicking on the icon above my head. You'll have to go ahead and scroll your cursor kind of basically over my face, and you'll see 4 icons light up above me. You're going to go ahead and click the second one to the left, which is the medium-sized rectangle, and it's labeled Show Small Active Speaker Video. If the speaker video is in your way during the presentation, you can easily click and drag it around the screen, and it'll get out of your way. We are recording this presentation today, so when we get to the Q&A session, what is on your screen will be seen in the recording. If you do not want to be on video, you can turn off your video by going to the bottom left corner of the Zoom class and hit Stop Video. If you have any questions you would like to ask but don't want to be recorded, go ahead and put them in chat and I will ask for you. All right, I think that's the end of our housekeeping items, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to introduce Shira Coleman. She is the founder of Playbee's Developmental Play and Playbee's Parenting. She is a positive discipline parent educator, a Educators for Peaceful Classrooms and Communities trainer, a theoretical linguist, and a very happy mother of 2. She is about to share one of her favorite game-changing transformational topics. Temperament, and particularly the 9 temperaments of Chesson Thomas, is a fabulous tool for understanding and parenting very young children. I know you're going to love this webinar. Here is the lovely Shira Coleman.
That says someone couldn't find the audio. So if you could check into that with Linda, that would be wonderful. And I just want to welcome you. Thank you so much for being here today with me. I feel so honored to be able to share with you something that was absolutely game-changing for me as a parent. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I always wanted to be a mom. I would tell you when I was maybe 8 years old that I wanted to be a mom, not a ballerina or the president of the United States. And when it was finally my turn to be able to make my vision come true, I was leaving a very fast-paced life in the business world. Growing up, I have a mother who is an early childhood educator, and I worked in her centers So I knew a lot about child development and working with very young children, and I was super excited. But I was absolutely shocked at what a screeching halt my life came to when I left my business world to the rocking chair. It was a very slow pace. I felt very isolated. I didn't remember all of that amazing information that I had. My brain was exhausted and filled with other miraculous things like staring at my brand new baby. So one day, as I was sort of getting the hang of the general nursing and diapering and napping my baby, a dear friend of ours came to visit, and toward the end of her visit, I was snapping up my son's diaper from a diaper change. She peeked her head around the corner and she said, "Oh no, I don't want to disturb you. I don't want to disturb this precious special moment. Stay there. I'll see you soon." And I want to admit now that I had no idea that that was a precious special moment that I was in the middle of. But because I knew she knew so much, I followed instructions. I stayed there, and slowly, with some discomfort, I realized that my brand new baby boy was staring right into my face. He was learning who his mama was, and it was my first opportunity to tell him he didn't make a mistake picking me, that I was his mom. I was ecstatic to be his mom, and that I was going to be there to love, protect, and support him in his whole development for my entire life. And from that moment, I dedicated myself to learning everything that I could possibly know about raising a child. Now, I have to say that I was extremely blessed because my family circle and my community circle had a huge wealth of knowledge in infant and child development and brain science and pediatrics and lactation and postpartum. And I am really a people person. I learn from other people. So I went straight to it and started asking as many questions as I could possibly think of to be able to support my baby, to bond and be with him, to be present with him, and to be the absolute best mother that I could be. So part of that was learning to take care of myself, and part of that was learning how to keep doing my passions, as well as all of the logistics and knowledge that I needed to support my child's development. This particular tool came a little bit late for me. My first child and I have actually very different temperaments. And I struggled through and I used my tools and I learned a lot and I really found some joyful parenting. But when my second baby came along and was about 180 degrees different from his brother, I was like, what is going on here? And that's when I found this tool, Temperament. It is a brilliant tool to help explain some of the awkwardness or lack of connection or misunderstandings that we have between ourselves and our babies, and actually between ourselves and all of the people in our lives. So at the end, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how you might be able to get some of this transformation that I got, how I can share more with you about all the other stuff that I learned that gave me that first experience of being really joyful in parenting. Parenting infants was not my happy place. And so I just want to give you permission here today, if it's not your happy place either. If it feels a bit like a struggle, or even if it's just not as easy as you thought it would be, I want you to know you're not alone. That this thing that we tell parents that they're going to be in baby bliss just because they brought their baby home, it isn't so for everyone, but that it is possible to give it to yourself. So I will tell you more about how to get all those other tools later. For now, what I'd like to do is set some intentions for this particular webinar. So I have a couple of goals for you. One, I want you to get a lot of information. Two, I want you to gain some understanding of your baby's cues, your baby's needs, and kind of look into them as little people. I'd also love for you to get some light bulb moments about yourself and your temperament and why some of your behaviors are the reactions or actions that you choose. And then lastly, I would love for you to leave with some strategies about how to make a better fit between you and your baby. Goodness of fit is one of the things we'll talk about soon. It's one of Chess and Thomas's technical terms from their study. So what I'd like to do now is have you close your eyes if you're not driving, take a deep breath, and set some intentions for yourself, because this webinar is really about you. So think about what brought you here today. What are you struggling with? What are you lacking as a caregiver that you want some support with? Do you want more patience? More confidence? More sleep? More time to do the things you used to love? Maybe you want an easier relationship with your co-parent or your children's grandparents, or maybe your childcare provider. Maybe you just want more joy and ease. Maybe things are pretty good, but they're maybe a little bit boring, or you feel like you don't know enough about baby's development, so you're nervous that you're not supporting them in the most perfect way. Understanding that all things change and every moment is temporary. Know that each of these struggles is temporary as well. Let them go and take a breath. Let's replace them with a vision of what you truly do want. Ease, connection, understanding, humor, love. What do you want for your baby? What kind of person do you want them to be? What values do you want them to have? What skills? What knowledge and understanding? Imagine a happy, balanced baby family where everyone makes room for each other, where everyone's needs are met. Everyone has the opportunity to do the things they love and be their best selves. Take a deep breath and open your eyes. So tools like this give you an immense leg up in getting that vision for yourself. I experienced it as a personal transformation, and I've been honored to walk with other parents through this transformation, whether they had a big child development background or they were a first-time parent. Maybe they came from a wonderful, healthy, whole, giving, generous family, or maybe they had a really difficult family of origin. We can make the changes today to create the children that can move forward in the future with a whole, happy, balanced, self-image, self-love perspective of the world. And this is one of the great tools to make that happen. So what is temperament? Temperament is defined as a person's or animal's nature, especially as it permanently affects their behavior. But most psychologists believe that temperament can be nurtured, that personality and interaction with others give us tools to respond differently to our environment by choice, and that we can nurture and tweak and change what we're given at birth. So historically, there have been many ways that we looked at temperament. These are a few of them. One of the I would say, mission of Playbees is to provide science-informed tools and information for parenting with joy. That means that we're going to give you the science that you can look at to make your own decisions that are right for you and your family. So you'll often see things like this, scholarly resources, and the actual research being referenced. Today we're using the 9 Temperaments of Chess and Thomas, which is widely agreed to be the most useful categorizing of temperaments for very young children because it can be so easily observationally based. So why do we care about temperament? Well, isn't it interesting that temperament exists, that it seems to be a part of us for life? Also, we want happy, successful children. And parenting the children we actually have based on their actual temperament can help them to build the tools that they need to be successful in the world. We also want to be sane and happy, so understanding and acceptance gives parents much more patience. We also want to be successful parents, so understanding temperament provides clues as to what strategies we can use with our children. And I'd like to take a moment to say here that no temperament is good or bad. Although often our cultures give us value based on being of sunny disposition or being a picky eater, no temperament is actually good or bad. People of all temperaments are successful and happy and balanced, and people of all temperaments are struggling and trying to find their place in the world. So here are some of those scholarly resources I mentioned. Holly is going to give these to you in the chat now so that you can take those away with you and look further into them if you like. And here are the 9 Temperaments of Chess and Thomas. Now you don't have to scribble and write all these down because we're going to go through them one by one. If you go ahead and open up your scales temperament, it will look like this. And mine are gonna look like this because I have to give you some cute, funny pictures. Because what would a presentation be without babies dressed up like lumberjacks or working out? So our first temperament, we're gonna get right into it, is activity level. So a highly active or a high activity level child will often move around while sleeping. They will not stay where you put them. They might learn to crawl or walk very early. A low activity child usually remains where they are put, often sits quietly. They often sleep quietly, and they might crawl relatively late. So go ahead over to your Google form and record yourself first, because we want to learn about ourselves and your child and anyone else that you want to track today. Oops, sorry. We'll stay on this one. So I'm sort of in the middle. My first child is on the low end. I have to tear him away from a book or a computer screen. And my second child is begging me to go on the trampoline every 5 minutes. If you're unsure about how to categorize your baby, try observing for a while. This is an amazing tool. Observation. I love this quote from Becoming the Parent You Want to Be, which is an amazing book by Laura Davis and Janice Kaiser. When we consciously and thoughtfully watch our children, we gain invaluable insight into who they are and how best to interact with them. Come on back to the presentation, and we'll talk about the second temperament, rhythmicity. Rhythmicity is really about how predictable or unpredictable your biological functions are. So a high regularity child loves a regular schedule. They love to eat at the same time. They love to go to sleep at the same time. And they're also very easy to predict their wet and soiled diapers. So if your child is an early toilet learner, it may be more because they're very predictable and you can get on a schedule of putting them on the potty. A not regular child is hungry all over the map. They're sleepy all over the map. You can't seem to get a schedule going, and it's really difficult, so they may toilet learn much later. Go ahead and record yourself. Flip back to the Google form. So my first baby is a morning person, and while I do my best thinking when I first wake up, I like to wake up later. So it was hard for me when my baby was up all the time. One of the solutions that I found was to get some extra support in the morning. So I made an agreement with my co-parent that he would get up early with baby and not wake me up until the baby was hungry again. I was able to get a little more sleep, and then I could be more present during the day to be with my baby. As he grew, he was able to kind of entertain himself in the mornings, and I didn't need to rely on so much support. And while you're recording, I just want to tell one more story, which I think is my very favorite rhythmicity story. My two children are 2.5 years apart, and they were both very young, and somehow they got on the same potty schedule. So it was a bit of a problem at home because we had only one bathroom, but luckily our neighbor who's attached to us let us use their bathroom in emergency situations. But one day we were at a restaurant, and I have the best picture from my cell phone of my two little babies butt to butt on this ridiculously large restaurant potty because they both needed to go at the same time. And there was only me to help them out and only one stall in the bathroom. We come on back. Our third one is approach withdrawal. Approach withdrawal is really about how a child reacts to brand new things or situations. So an approach child will, in a new place, go and explore, right? They might accept new foods really easily. And a withdrawal child, their first reaction would be to stay in the protection of a known entity, maybe hug your leg like this sweet little boy. And they might reject new foods on the first try. So if you can go ahead and record yourself. If you are a approach person and your baby's a withdrawal person, you may need to slow down a little bit. Give them time to adjust, try things more than once, understand that they may not be interested in something new the first time, or that they need a little extra safety support. If you are a withdrawal person and your child is an approach person, you might be exhausted trying to keep up with them as they go from toy to person to experience to experience. And you might need some help. Or you might need to find a way that you can stay in a protected space while they explore. Maybe you can put some things closer around you, or you can go to a familiar park but let them get a little further away from you. So I'd be willing to bet that so far on our 3, you have come up with a couple of little happinesses or solutions that you hadn't thought of before to help support your baby. I would love it if you would share that in the chat. And actually, I think it would be great if we could get to know you a little bit. If you would go ahead into the chat and post your child's name and age, that would be wonderful. We can get to know each other a little bit. Look, parenting can be really isolating, and the truth is we don't have a huge value in the modern world on community and connection, and a lot of us are feeling like we don't have the connection that we want to have, or that life is more difficult than it needs to be. So let's start today. We can build some community. We can get to know each other a little bit. We can at least hear that we're not alone. So our 4th is adaptability. Adaptability really is what happens when you follow your initial response over time. So adaptability, maybe a baby is a withdrawal person. They don't like it the first time, but by the second time, they're ready to go. Or maybe they're not adaptable, and the 5th time they're still not into it, and the 7th time they're still not into it. Maybe the 20th time they're like, okay, this is a known entity, I'm going to be okay with it. You'll often see this in new childcare settings or with new caregivers. A low or not adaptable child will take a really long time to feel comfortable with a new person or in a new environment, where a high adaptability baby will get right in and start to play. So go ahead and record yourself. Do you go to your same favorite restaurant over and over again and order the same thing? Or do you love to go someplace new and try a new dish? While you're doing that, I want to let you know that I was a stay-at-home mom for the first little while before I went back to work. And when my husband came home, he really thought that the babies didn't love him as much as they loved me, because they wouldn't sort of drop everything and go running into his arms. When really what was happening was they were needing some time to warm up. They hadn't spent time with him all day. And one thing that he learned to do was to come in and sit down and involve himself in whatever activity they were already working on, so that they only had one thing change, not 2 being whisked away to go do something else. The other thing I learned to do to support that was to be busy. So I might busy myself with the dishes or in another room so that they could take that time with their other caregiver to mesh and rebond and be able to have that quality time. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit that I had a whole bunch of values and judgments around how he should be parenting our children. And that's another thing that this tool gave me, was an understanding of his temperament. But also, I learned through other questions and studies and self-reflection and science that each child and caregiver relationship is unique, and it's important. And it's important that they are different from each other. So in order to get a real understanding of the way the world might work, having another perspective or another way is not a terrible thing. Having a coordinated vision for our children can be really, really important. And it's something that I talk about a lot in what I'll show you at the end, which is my coursework. 5, level of sensitivity. Some children are not sensitive. They'll crawl over gravel. They'll hang out in a dirty diaper for hours and not tell you. Some babies are very sensitive. Loud noises bother them, or flashing lights bother them. Dirty diapers bother them. So go ahead and record yourself on level of sensitivity and your baby. And I should tell you while you're doing that, that babies who are highly sensitive, they tend to be overstimulated very easily. So it may be, if you can't figure out why your child is fussing, one great tool might be to try reducing the input and see if it's that there's too much going on for them to be able to process the task that they are doing, whether that's just growing or nursing or trying to play a puzzle. So I'll give you some signs of overstimulation to look for. Overstimulated babies might turn their head or pull away. They might get their body really rigid or clench their fists. They also might rub their eyes or cover their face. And often they are hypervigilant. Any noise distracts them, or they're totally disconnected from the environment and they're saying to you, I can't take any more input, please stop. Hope you're back so we can talk about number 6, quality of mood. This is probably the temperament that people think of when we say temperament. So most of you probably know someone who you might call a Pollyanna, who's always looking at the bright side and super optimistic and happy all the time. And then some of you probably also know an Eeyore, someone who is kind of crabby, bad things always seem to happen to them. They want to talk about the negative things in their life. Negative babies often cry as a first reaction. So this doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like the situation. It might just mean, oh, I'm surprised, or why do I have to transition? And then they're fine. They often cry when they're frustrated, and they often resist doing tasks when asked. High quality of mood or positive quality of mood babies might just be giggle buckets. They might laugh at everything and smile at everyone. They probably feel really successful in general, and they tend to take setbacks in stride. So if you're someone who thinks that the world is a little bit overappreciated, and your baby is a smiling bucket of giggles, it might be hard for you not to rain on their parade. But if you are someone who loves the world and your baby seems to be happy or a little bit fussy, don't take it personally. It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. It's hard to believe it, but some babies are just happier, a little bit fussy, for no reason. Go ahead and record yourself now. So for me, I'm one of those Pollyanna people, and I'm super optimistic, but I tend to have a lot of relationships with people who have a negative quality of mood. This was very interesting for me to discover, and it came along with a whole bunch of things that I learned about myself. So I grew up in a really solid family of origin with lots of love and care, and everyone was very respectful. And I didn't really need boundaries. So out in my adult life, I didn't have any, and I didn't know how to set them. One thing that I learned is that I can love and make space for the negative quality of mood people in my life. I can be patient, and I can understand that that's just their temperament and they're not trying to bring me down. But I can also take care of myself and know how much time I want to spend with people who have a negative quality of mood. And learning about yourself and understanding about healthy boundaries and negotiation allows you to spend the time that you do have together in a positive and present way. Number 7 is intensity of reaction. So some babies are going to give you huge reactions when they're happy, big belly laughs, and impressive tantrums when they're upset with the world. You might want, if that's your child, you might want to warn the people around you. You know, you took the toy away from my baby. She's screaming as if the world is coming to an end. I just want you to know that she is a really intense baby, and it doesn't mean that you have harmed her in some deep way that's going to last for the rest of her life. If your baby has a low or mild intensity of reaction, you may need to help them learn to self-advocate, because their natural tendency is not to pitch a big fit when something happens to them. If another baby comes and pulls your baby's hair, you might be able to help facilitate that really hurt and that you don't want that to happen anymore. And your baby can learn from your example to advocate for themselves, to use their words and say how they're feeling, even if their reaction isn't intense. Go ahead and record yourself. Are you someone who only your best friends know if you're feeling happy or down? Or is it written all over your face? In case you didn't notice at the beginning while I attempted to tell you my story, I'm a crier. So everything shows. When I am having an intense or happy or sad moment, I get big crocodile tears. Come on back and we'll talk about distractibility. So distractibility is about how stimulus interferes with a child's behavior and their willingness or unwillingness to be diverted from what they're doing. So a distractible child will stop tantruming if you give them something else interesting to look at or a hug. And not distractible children will fuss and fuss and fuss and not give up. What about you? Are you fine having taqueria when you had your heart set on sushi, but your partner says taqueria? Go ahead and record yourself. So I think, fairly distractible. I need to put my phone away from me when I'm working so that I don't jump at every little buzz and notification. My first child broke me in so easy. He was so distractible. I would offer him anything in exchange and he would be happy. My second one came along and I promise you, if he asked for a carrot and I didn't have any and I offered him ice cream instead, he would complain about not having a carrot. This boy was single-minded. Number 9 is persistence and attention span. So persistence is really about your pursuit in the face of obstacles, and attention span is really about how long you will work on a particular task. They're usually related to each other. So a long attention span child will work for a long time on one activity. They'll turn and turn and turn the puzzle piece until it fits. A short attention span child might turn it a few times and decide to go play with blocks. So go ahead and record yourself now. Do you give up? Or do you push through in the face of obstacles? What about your babies? Can they sit and play for hours or look at their mobile when they wake up and not fuss to be taken out of their crib or bed? All right, so now we get to talk about goodness of fit. So Chess and Thomas talk about goodness of fit as the lineup, the mesh up of how your temperament meets with another person's. Finding a balance between a child's needs and those of the people that they live with or care for them is really important. If we give ourselves entirely for our children, we don't have enough left to be present. And then we might become a permissive parent. No, go ahead, do that. I don't know. I basically don't have the energy to make a decision or set a limit. It's important to figure out what will work for everyone. If you found some big differences between you and your child or you and your co-parent or child care person, you're not doomed. This is a two-way street. We all affect each other and we can all make accommodations to improve our goodness of fit so that everyone can have their needs met, do the things that they love to do, and be able to be present in each other's lives. So effective parenting is planning for the baby you actually have, right? Not just going along parenting the baby that you might want in your imagination. So now we get to talk about some tools. And these couple slides will be available to you Holly will be putting them in the chat as a PDF download that you can take away and reference anytime. Trying to get you all the information that I can, but knowing that each of these tools could be looked at for its whole own hour at least. Learning and practicing and finding ways to implement these when the rubber meets the road is really the task of parenting. So I'm going to give you as much as I can in this hour, but we're really just scratching the surface here. Try not to get overwhelmed, and you have your whole life ahead of you to practice these things, put them into place. And again, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about, if you want to proceed working with me on a deeper level, how you could do that. So observe, this is a great tool. We talked about it already. The more you know about your child, the more you understand, the more you can see their motivations, the better, more successful solutions you're going to come up with. Validate feelings. This one is super important, and you would be surprised how talking through, expressing, and reflecting your baby's feelings even before they can talk to you is really valuable. I understand that you're not wanting to get a diaper change right now, but your diaper is dirty and it's going to hurt your skin, so I'm going to help you. How about if you hold this clean diaper, and now I'm going to undo and blah, and walking them through, right? Tone of voice is another really fabulous one. If you are using one tone of voice that isn't working, try switching it, and try switching it kind of dramatically and see what magic you can make with your baby. If you are up here being very, and this is not going to work, and oh no, it's dangerous, and you switch to, okay, all right, we're going to stay calm. I'm going to take this because it's dangerous, but I'm going to give you this. How does that sound? Might be just the key. Special time. So in today's world of connectivity, we may not even know that we are not giving our children special time. Often children's strong reactions are because they need our undivided attention. They're working through something, or they just need to feel safe by knowing that you're there. Show faith. This is a great one. And I often get comments about my children from other people saying, my gosh, they're so capable, or wow, they fell down and they just got right back up. They're not crying. They don't need you. And this is my key to that sort of self-reliant, self-loving, self-soothing behavior. I show faith in them. So if they are wanting to learn something or do something, I will help them, and I will help as little as possible. And even very, very young children are learning skills all the time. So if you can show them your encouragement, I believe in you, you can do it. Look at you, look what you're doing. You're so close to crawling. Amazing. It can really help to build their inner confidence. Sense of humor. So for many toddlers, they need to be taken very seriously. And you having a sense of humor about their feelings and situations may not be working out for them. But in general, if it doesn't work out loud with your toddler or baby to have a sense of humor, it will, and it often does because they love to laugh and keep things lighthearted. But if it doesn't work there, it will at least work inside of you. Because let's be honest, this time of life is crazy. So much new to learn for them and for you, and relationships and skills and sicknesses they could have, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So having a sense of humor about how crazy this time is can really give you the space you need when the rubber meets the road to take a deep breath, respond instead of react. Pay attention. This is huge, and I would be willing to bet that a lot of us think we're paying attention when we're really not in this world of screens. Physical affection. So not every child loves to be touched and hugged. I have one of those. I am a total huggy, connecty person, and my firstborn was not. Good thing I didn't know any better, or I would have thought something was wrong with him. But most children do love hugs, and if they don't love hugs, sitting nearby and holding some safe space for them can be a real game changer in the way they feel about the situation. Follow through. Now this one might feel a little bit preachy, and I want you to know that my mission for Playbees is to provide the science-informed tools and information so that you make the parenting decisions that are right for you. So take this the best way that you can and think about what it might mean to you. But babies, even very young babies, know when you don't mean what you say. So I am a not big fan of rules. So what I took this follow through tool to mean for myself was that I was not going to set rules that I wasn't going to enforce. So that means you can't have that toy, give it to me, that's going to create something really sad when it wasn't really a big deal. It was important for me because I believed in follow through to not set those rules. So the rules that I ended up with were big sort of values-based rules, right? Like be kind and be generous and be healthy. So then, no, you can't have that cookie, and also, Grandma, please don't feed him that cookie, was based on something so important to me that I was sure that I was going to follow through on it. So what does follow through mean to you? Proximity, this is a huge one. So it is really hard to make a solution, come to an agreement, help from the other room. Sometimes just being there, just being eye to eye, just being present is enough to release whatever struggle was happening. And on that note, if you haven't seen our wonderful psychology expert, Dr. Seisha Zinn, in a video that talks about eye contact, I would love to offer that to you here. Please know that this is an initial conversation with her that I had in preparation for the work that we're going to be doing together for the course and into the future. What Playbees has done is gathered that group of experts that I told you about that were so important to me. I have gathered together, not the same experts, many of them are retired, but some wonderful experts in child development and brain cognition. And Dr. Seisha Zinn is one of them. And there's a link in the chat right now if you want to download that video. Do versus don'ts is the next one. And I have to say that all the solutions to these sort of mismatches or difficulties or snafus in our temperaments or just in our choices are here in the do section. The solutions are not in the don't section. The solutions are in how can we come together, what can we do that we both agree upon. So focusing on the what can baby do, right? Oh, that knife isn't safe, but here is a spatula you can twirl around, right? Those are in the do section. Distract and redirect. It's exactly what I just said, which is, hey, look at this pretty spatula. Don't you not want to hold that dangerous knife? And then obviously that's easier with high distractibility children. But even with low distractibility children, you can probably come up with a compromise that works for both of you. Decide what you will do. Here's another one of those ones that can end up feeling really preachy. And I just want to say again that this is about what's a good fit for you. And we offer lots of choices about what to do. You can try them on. And if they don't work for you, you can throw them out the window and try something else. So decide what you will do is really about those situations that come up repetitively Deciding what you will do ahead of time before you're in a stressful situation really helps you to be present and pull that tool out when you need to, when it's happening. And then also, our children might catch us off guard. So taking a deep breath instead of reacting, taking a moment to think about what you will do and then respond can be really helpful. That leads us right into control your behavior. So this is a crazy time and our children are constantly throwing us curveballs. But the one thing that we have control over is our own behavior. And this is true with our child care providers, the grandparents, and our co-parents. The whole world isn't made up of happily ever after families. I am a strangely, through lots of work and love and care and commitment and presence to this kind of stuff, person who has a very odd happily ever after story where I am no longer together with the father of my children. But through lots of struggle and pain, we have come to a place where we are each controlling our own behavior, that we are looking to all these tools and solutions, that we're putting our babies first in the world, that we're supporting each other's relationships with our children, and that we're grateful that our children are learning different ways of being in the world and that we are each preparing them in our own way for the world that they are going to encounter when they leave our homes. Break the code. This is the best for last. It is very often that our children's behavior is what we focus on, and we haven't noticed that there's a reason behind their behavior, something underneath that is the root cause. And parenting to the meaning behind the behavior, the why, the need, the pain, the curiosity, the ask, the question, the request to be seen, to be loved, to be acknowledged. When we give our responses to the underlying behavior, we will have much more success at finding a solution. So that was a ton of tools. I want to leave you with a few little bits, food for thought. If you get frustrated, you might want to look and see if there's a temperament between you and that other person that is at odds, and see what accommodations can be made. Also, practice makes better. We don't have to do this perfectly. Not all of us came from perfect homes, but we're finding our way. For the parents who fell down on some things, we can remember what they did well. We can have love for them. And if you are present with your baby and it is your intention to be with them, love and support them, if you can build a secure attachment by spending that quality time, your baby can weather the storms of those mistake moments, because that's the truth of the world. We're not perfect. And if you can share that imperfection in a teaching moment, how better to tell your child that they're okay being imperfect, that they can love themselves even if they don't do things perfectly. We have a society around us who really encourages us to get an A++, and that's not the win. I can tell you from my personal experience that the win is what happens when you struggle through the hard times and find the solutions, the resources, the ease for yourself, that you build your self-love and your self-confidence. So I just want to say, whatever kind of parent you are, whatever your parenting philosophy, or whether you are developing one still, you can find the balance. You can find the two sides. If you really want your child to be a leader, you can still be firm and set limits. If you want your child to be really great at following your instructions and be an awesome, productive member of a team, you can still have respect for them and get their input on things. If you only have a few hours a day with your child because you're working, if you make that time quality time, you can have an amazing parent-child relationship. And if you are at home with your child most of the time, you can still take care of yourself. Becoming the parent you want to be. I hope you got those goals that I set out for you at the beginning. I hope you got tons of valuable information, some insight into your baby, some insight into yourself, and some solutions to put in your pocket and pull out in those difficult moments with your baby. I hope that you have some ideas about how to create a better fit in your family. So wherever you are, unless you're driving, take a moment and close your eyes. Breathe and visualize a perfect day for your family. You've slept a decent sleep. You woke refreshed. What does your morning look like? Where are you and who are you with? And what's your baby doing? Moving through your day, what does breakfast look like? How about nap and playtime? Do you have time to care for yourself? When? What does it look like? Who's supporting you? What activities are you doing with baby? This is your perfect day. How are you resolving the mismatches, the time obstacles, the fussy times? How do you feel about your parenting choices? Take a deep breath and open your eyes. I want to tell you that you can have that. Even if you feel like you don't have support, you don't have family around you, you've never learned anything about children, you've never taken care of a child, even if you've taken care of hundreds of children, you are feeling in a place of lack and exhaustion, but you know you could be doing better, but you're being really hard on yourself. You can have a joyful experience parenting your baby. You can have amazing relationships with your co-parents and your child care providers. So think about what your biggest obstacles are. I'd love to see you put some of them in chat. I'd be willing to bet that you're not alone. And I want you to think about what's holding you back from that special day. I want you to be really, really real. Why did you come to this webinar? What's your struggle? What's hard? What support do you want that you don't have? Sometimes it's just good to hear that you're not the only one that is so exhausted because they chose to nurse their baby at night that they can't function during the day and they feel frazzled. And, you know, I remember times where I literally was like, take this baby away. I had one of those Calgon moments where I was just like, I want to just, what did I get myself into? Or maybe your baby has colic and it just is There's not a soothing happening, and you just need to find a time to take care of yourself until your baby gets through whatever's happening in their body. So here it is. This is my offering to you to help you implement this stuff, to get all the other tools and information that were just godsends to me when I had my babies. This is the Playbees Parenting course. It's about wanting to love parenting. And I love this little drawing, My Happy World. And I want all of our babies to be drawing this drawing, right? I don't want any of our babies to be drawing drawings that their counselors are looking at to figure out what's going on for them because life is so hard for them. And that's what this is really about. It's really about creating balanced, healthy, happy children, balanced, healthy, happy caregivers who love being with their babies, who are giving them themselves, who are finding the support that they need to make the good decisions, to feel good about their decisions, to rock this, to love parenting, and to have happy, well-adjusted children who go out into the world and make it a better place for everyone. And pass that on. Stop the cycles. Heal the hurts. I want this for you. So here's what's in the course. Here's how we're going to make it happen, people. We're going to have 7 modules of tools. We're going to have 8 Zoom parent support calls so that we can get to know each other, be a community, work things out, offer solutions. I will be right there with you the whole way, offering choices, bringing the science. You're going to get access to the experts. You're going to have private message boards to be able to talk to each other in between times. And you're going to have templates and take-home things that will help you implement what we're learning. Our modules are going to cover things like how to be resourceful. They're going to cover child development. So those questions where you're like, is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? Should it really hurt this much to nurse? And oh my God, he has a rash and we're going to talk about that stuff. We're going to talk about when they should be walking. And we're going to take away the shoulds while we're at it. We're going to talk about our vision for our children so that we can be present to it and it can inform our decisions every day in our parenting life so that decisions become easy because they're in alignment with what we already know we want for our family. Then we're going to hear from the experts. We're going to have a panel on supporting babies' brain development and emotional health. And we're going to have a panel on supporting their physical health. And you can talk directly to the experts and hear from them and ask your questions. And then we're going to talk about our role as guides so that now that we know what we want for our children, how we can create the routines and the rules and the agreements in the family, all the way in the family, the whole family, the village, to make that a reality. So here's our experts. We have a sleep expert because I know we cannot be resourceful and we cannot make this happen if we are exhausted. We have our clinical research psychologist and a postpartum doula and a child development expert and a infant toddler chef and a lactation consultant and a pediatrician. We got you covered. So some of you are thinking, where do I sign? I know I want this. I want to join Shira. I want that for my family. I want to have ease in my parenting. I want to know what to do. I want to think I'm an amazing parent. I want to feel that I'm an amazing parent. I want to love this journey. And you can click into the chat right now and sign up. And do it now, because if you do it now while we're talking to each other, you will get 2 20-minute sessions with me during the course to help you with implementing the stuff that we're learning. So our calls are super helpful. We'll be together on Zoom, but if you want to be with me one-on-one, sign up right now. Grab your 2 20-minute slots. Use them as you like during the course. And I will be there for you to walk through this with you, to give you some suggestions, some things that you can try on, and to be present with you through the amazing transformation and through the struggles too. And your whole village can come with you. That's right, I do believe in this. I really honestly believe that this is for everyone involved. So if you're the mom thinking, yeah, but if I just change me, then there's still all these other things and I'm getting a divorce and how can I control that situation and blah, 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 blah. And your little hamster wheel is going, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. You're not wrong. It's hard, but it's way easier together. So your family can join you for free, and that means your family, whoever is helping you to raise this child. And for the men in our babies' lives, you get a men's only meeting. I understand that your struggles might feel really different. And if you're wondering if there's a place for you here, yes, there is a place for you. We want you. You're so important. And you have some amazing wisdom to share with each other. So you will get that time, just the guys. And if you're a little hesitant, you can do it without risk. You can do it right now. There's no reason not to. Just sign up, because if it's not a good fit for you, we'll just refund your money. That's how much I believe in this program. It is going to make a huge difference for you to find a parenting philosophy, get into alignment with it, and make every parenting decision for the rest of your parenting life easier. This is an investment. It's an investment in your time. It's an investment of money, although I think you'll be surprised at how little. And it's a huge investment in the day-to-day decisions that you're making with your baby right now. But it's gonna pay off for you. It's paying off for me every day with my 11 and 8-year-old who still think that I am amazing, even though my 11-year-old is going through that transition and most of his friends are really disrespectful to their parents. Not most, some. And my children are amazing, and it's because I have invested in this relationship. And I've helped lots of other parents do it too, and I can't wait to help you. So here it is. This is the value. If you're enrolling during this webinar, you get your 2 sessions with me. You get this amazing new thing called the 15-minute module. So if you are that person who's saying, I love this idea, but I don't have time for a module and a support call every week, then I promise you, you will still get a huge amount out of this course in just 15 minutes a week if you listen to the what you need to know cliff notes of each module. You've got your family free, you've got your men's meeting, you have your calls with experts, you have your private support community, and you've got lifetime access to this stuff. So you can come back to it at the different ages and stages of your baby, see how it's working for you in toddlerdom differently than in infancy, and all the way through your parenting. And if you can't keep up with the class and you want to make sure that you have time to come back to it, you can. So here it is. You get all of this for $397. You can even do a payment plan. You can just pay $142 a month for 3 months. And I want you to know how very much we want you here. How much my mission is to change the world. There's that link in the chat again if you're ready to sign up. I know that your love, care, support, work, investment, being with your baby is the change that the world needs. I want it for them. I want it for the world. And I really want it for you because I struggled and I got it and I love it. And I loved parenting. And I'm not going to say that every moment was happy. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't difficult. But I loved every second of it. And it's because I got the support and knowledge that I needed. And I'm giving it to you today. Everything that I painstakingly put together, everything that the experts have, everything that my research team is going out into the world of science in early care and education, in early development to bring you so that you know what's really going on for baby. And you can make the decisions that are right for you. Oh, my goodness. That was quite a journey. And I'm so excited to answer your questions. I hope you have lots of them. Please go to the participants and click raise hand or post a question in the chat and Holly will ask it for you. I'm so excited to hear from you. I'm going to put my earbuds in so I can hear you. It's a great time to make a comment or tell us one of your big takeaways or just share.
So Shara, we did have some great comments throughout and a couple questions were related as well.
Great.
I'm not sure if anyone does want to jump in, but, and I apologize, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Walutke. I'm not sure that's the name on the screen, but she was wondering how you measure the approach withdrawal for a 2-month-old.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So for a 2-month-old approach withdrawal, the first thing that comes to my mind is how they're reacting with new people. It may be before they really have differentiation and they know that they're not a part of you. So very early on, you may find that your baby is happy to go to whomever. And then there'll be a change in that as they develop to where they realize, oh, I'm separate from mom. And if I leave mom, then I'm not as safe. So you can kind of see how they are going with that, with new toys, with new environments. Often in some babies in new environments won't even nurse. They're like, no, this is too much. I don't know what's going on. Please help me. I need to be safe. So you might look at those kind of cues to find out if they are really interested. I will say some brand new research is out that is fascinating to me. It's anthropological, and the scientists were trying to figure out why humans seem to exhibit social behaviors so early. So pointing and even just looking at faces and smiling and engaging with other adults that are not their primary caregiver. This is something that we don't see in apes. So researchers were really originally assuming that it was because of the hunter in us, that we needed to be able to be team members in order to do big game hunting, blah, blah, blah. But what they have actually found is that it's probably more linked to having multiple caregivers. So humans, unlike many other animals and apes, can be fed, cared for, and protected by people other than their primary caregiver. So the new science is that we think that those smiling, cooperation, and sharing behaviors are actually a result of needing to be able to create relationships with more than just their parent. So, but the level to which a child is willing to do that is really about their approach withdrawal temperament. It's a great question.
Awesome, thank you. I do have another one from Casey, and Casey was asking for help with parenting when there is a different temperament between the child and the parent.
Great. If you are willing, Casey, to jump on with me, I would love to talk about your particular mismatch, because I feel like it's different depending on the temperament, the specific temperament that we're talking about. In general, because we are the parent, it's easier for us to sort of start to make the accommodation and start to understand what some possible compromises are. So, Casey, are you willing to jump on? I see. Oh, are you here with us?
I am, if you can hear me.
Wonderful. I can hear you.
That's wonderful. Because I'm dialing in from Sydney, Australia, and I was worried about the connection.
Oh, welcome. I'm so glad to have you.
Thanks. So in particular, I'm a very introverted, withdrawing person, and my baby seems to be more like my partner, who is much more the opposite, the approaching, and you mentioned, like, I get really, really exhausted. So that's a big one for me.
Awesome. And how old is your child?
She is 6 months old.
Oh, okay, great. So she's mobile?
She's just gotten quite mobile, which is
very cool. Okay, so one thing you can do, this is something that I've used throughout, I still use it with my children, is to create experiences for them that I don't have to be an active part of. So you could spread toys around maybe, and you could ask her, now can you find the red ball? And maybe she'll crawl over toward the red ball. Now can you find the whatever? That might help. What I do a lot is, for my older children, is obstacle courses. So I'll sit and they'll run, right? Because they have the energy. Another thing that you might want to do is spend some time in developing, if you don't have it, a safe group of friends who you can spend time with, where it doesn't feel, it feels safe and relaxed for you, but your baby has a lot more stimulation and more people around them that they can interact with. Another choice is perhaps to go to a place that is familiar to yourself, like your neighborhood park or whatever, and encourage your baby to have interactions with other babies, and in a way that's, safe, that you don't have to strike up a big long conversation with the parent. But I would definitely say the safest places for me are usually around structures that I have created for myself. So finding that group of friends that you are comfortable with, and then allowing your baby to have more input while you're still sort of being safe. Even if it's just only one baby, if you have a friend who has another baby, just getting the babies together, and your friend knows you well, so they're not going to demand you outside of your comfort zone. Is that helpful, or need some more ideas?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Yeah, I think it is just one of those things where it can be really, really interesting to find where the accommodations are. And it might just be, different music all the time for your baby, or a few times a day. That might help them with their stimulation, or different toys. One thing that I really liked to do was I had toy bins. And so we all probably have too many toys. And so what I would do is disperse my toy set into like 4 different bins, and I would put 3 bins away and have only 1 out. And maybe I would do that for a week or 3 days, depending on what their attention span is. And then I would switch the bin. So they got a whole new world, and I didn't have to like go out and buy new toys. And in the meantime, they forgot about the old toys. So when they came out, they were very novel for them. We have anything else?
So I did just want to make a comment that Sam said that he wants tools, and I said that we got lots of people more excited. And then Meredith had a comment, and I wasn't sure what slide it is. So Meredith, if you want to hop on, she had a question about her child being super sensitive.
Yeah, so my question was, my daughter has sensory processing, right? And she's older, but like as a new mom, I didn't know, like I knew she was sensitive. I could tell she was sensitive, like water on her face at bath time and all of these things. How does that show up and differentiate on the scale of the sensitivity versus the, like, where it comes into understanding that it's more than just on that scale, especially, like, how could I have known earlier?
Yeah, great question. So this is the time when I like to say there is a range of normal, right? And then there is outside the range of normal. So often accommodation works really well inside the range of normal. And part of what we talk about in the course is what's normal. And we have these amazing experts to come and talk to you, so you can ask those questions. But generally, if the solutions that you're offering are not fixing the problem for your child, and you're really present and you're understanding, like you were, oh, my child's very sensitive, but I still don't seem to be able to figure it out for her, that's a great time to talk to your pediatrician, and they will help you to decide if it's something outside the range of normal. Most of us are first or second time parents, and we don't have the breadth of knowledge about what is normal. So using your resources again, talking to experts or your pediatrician will help you find someone who is more expertise if they don't have a solution or an answer for you. And I would definitely say, if your child's in the range of normal, then accommodating behaviors that you offer, you should be able to see a change in their general comfort in the world. And if what you're doing, if you've tried a whole bunch of things and nothing's working, it is definitely time to ask for help outside of your brain.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Meredith did have one other comment, and I was like, this probably, but her son, she was wondering if her son was more mellow due to her daughter's reactions. And I'm like, it's so interesting how all of the environment, everything shapes us. So yeah, I was wondering your thought on that. And I don't know if Meredith needs to share any more of that, but.
So yeah, I mean, we talked about all this being a two-way street, right? That temperaments are inborn, but that the environments and people around us affect us and affect our general choices of behavior. So it very well could be that a second child of a very sensitive, outgoing, or active sibling could create a more introverted person. It also could be that they jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, this is the way the world's supposed to be. I'm going to be like that too. So I think a lot of it does have to do with underlying temperament, which way they go, and that you may see something more extreme because if another child is also extreme. But it's very interesting how we all affect each other. And it's a great argument for having many caregivers and many community members for our children to experience, who are all wonderful role models, so that we can offer our children choices about how to be in the world. Good role models.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I think that was all the questions. I don't see any hands up, but I will tell you the chat feature has a lot of amazing, I can tell you had a lot of value. You gave a lot of people value today. So thank you so much, Shira.
Thank you. And I just want to say to those of you who want more tools, I'm so excited to go through them with you. Positive Discipline has a ton of amazing parenting tools that really can be applied to any philosophy of parenting. And our experts are going to give you a lot of their tool options as well. So please do join us on this class. I can't even imagine how wonderful this community is going to be. Thank you so much for your participation. And I just want to say, for those of you who maybe this doesn't feel like a good fit for you, I want to honor that, because Playbee's parenting is really about getting into alignment with what's right for you. So if this course isn't for you, know that you'll be getting some great content from us and our experts along the way as well. And also, if you got a lot of value out of this webinar, I really would appreciate a thank you by way of following the Facebook link that Holly is putting into the chat, to share on your timeline so that friends and family might be able to find out about us and spread the word. And for those of you who are joining us, I can't wait to get to know you. I'm so excited for the transformation and the journey that we're about to embark on. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone here and involved. And I will see you soon in your inbox. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.